Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. There's a legal battle happening in Northville, and it gets at the heart of how public spaces are viewed in America. Should cities prioritize walkability or traffic flow? People on foot or people in cars? When COVID shutdowns hit and social distancing set in, restaurants and public spaces emptied out. Streets across the country went quiet, deserted of both people and cars. But people, cities and business owners adapted. Many set up temporary outdoor seating, and it provided a much-needed solution in a crisis. In Northville, as the pandemic crisis waned, outdoor dining remained. The city's downtown was reminiscent of cafes and public plazas in other, more walkable, less car-dominated cities around the world. City residents and elected officials wanted to make the innovation permanent. In 2023, the Northville City Council voted to close the two main streets in downtown Northville, Center and Main, during summer months. Residents were drawn to the city center like never before. But not everyone was happy with the changes. Community groups were formed for and against. Let's Open Northville has filed multiple lawsuits to end street dining and seasonal road closures in downtown Northville. Meanwhile, Community Over Cars and Northville City Council are in favor of street dining and seasonal road closures. And then lawsuits ensued. In July, Wayne County Circuit Court Judge Charlene Elder ordered Main Street and Center Street opened back up. In October, she'll rule on another lawsuit against the city regarding outdoor dining. Our cities and towns are dominated by roads, freeways, and cars. It's a very American thing. What's happening in Northville, then, begs a larger question. Should cities and towns close roads permanently in favor of public plazas and walkability? We want your opinion. The phone lines are open, 313-577-1019. And with me now are two people working to keep Northville's downtown more walkable. Christy Wysocki lives in the city of Northville and is the founder of Community Over Cars. And Peter Hoffman lives in Northville Township and is on that group's board, serving as its government relations liaison. Now, I should note the Metro contacted the city of Northville and the group Let's Open Northville. We haven't heard back. Christy, I want to turn to you if I could. You founded Community Over Cars. Tell me, how did that group start and why?
Thanks so much for having us on. Really, it just started with one sign. I wasn't necessarily trying to start a movement. I just really wanted to show my support in a positive, respectful way for, one, the future of Northville, and what a great place the seasonal street closures made for our community. I guess don't make a mom mad. Truthfully, when I found out the latest news regarding the lawsuit, after years of seeing negative attacks on social media, I just got really frustrated. And I just started with one sign because I wanted safer streets for the kids, more vibrancy for the families, and I saw Northville businesses booming. So that's kind of how it started.
You planted one physical sign. That's the genesis of this.
Started one sign. I shared it on Facebook to see if any of my friends were interested. And within weeks, we have thousands of followers on our social media channels, hundreds of lawn signs. And I'm just really proud of this community for coming together and the pride and visibility that has connected many demographics across the community.
Christy, what do you think this groundswell of support signifies? In other words, what are the benefits of a downtown center without cars?
It's connected. Businesses are booming. The community is thriving like never before. I grew up in Northville, and I loved growing up there, but I loved even more what I saw for Northville's future based on the street closures and the seasonal street closures. You know, there has been This has been going on for years in Northville, and the community rallied behind it, liked the idea, and there were compromises made that they were seasonal street closures, and opening them up from November to the end of April made complete sense. So it was just a really great opportunity for this community to do something different in Metro Detroit. I lived in downtown Birmingham. I loved the action there, but the future of Northville and what I saw happening there drove me back home, and hundreds of other families as well. And long-term residents enjoyed it too.
So you saw Northville as a place of innovation, as this potential more people-focused area, and that really got you to move back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Peter, you're a resident of Northville Township, and that's just outside the city. I'm wondering, how does a walkable downtown center change life for someone who, say, doesn't live in the city proper? How does it benefit the broader community?
I think it gives us a true gathering space where we can come together as a community, meet our neighbors, and meet our fellows from other communities around the area, too. I know, echoing Christy, I did not grow up in Northville. I grew up in the Birmingham and Bloomfield area. I've lived in Royal Oak. I've lived in Washington, D.C. I've lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And all of those places had wonderful, wonderful parts and things to them. But during COVID, my wife and I started our family. And when we had our first child, the closed streets in Northville and the pedestrian zone that it created was the first place that we could take our newborn on an outing that felt safe. And it was really nice to, at least for a while, feel normal again in an incredibly scary time. And it allowed us to watch our kids grow up, continue to grow our family and introduce our kids to the concept of community and meeting their neighbors. And it was a really wonderful thing.
I mean, and also, Peter, during a time where so many of us felt isolated, it sounds like this public space allowed you all to feel the kind of important neighborhood connections that we're all craving, but especially we were at a time when we were really closed off from one another, literally.
Absolutely. And in a time in our country, I think, when it is harder and harder to make connections, to get to know your neighbors, to make it personal connections, what started during COVID is that feeling of normalcy truly continued and allowed us to come together really as a community, make connections, and get to know our neighbors. And in a way that no other place that I have lived has given us.
Wow. That's saying something. Christy, I want to talk a little bit more about civility and public discourse for a moment, if we could. We know social media can be a dark, rude, negative place. You've been frequenting Northville's downtown since the road closures and outdoor dining started. How have your interactions with Northville residents changed since starting Community Over Cars?
Oh, the response has been amazing. I cannot tell you how many people have been, thank you for giving us a voice. Thank you. I did not want to participate in that negativity online, the snarkiness, the unnecessary comments. That is not what Community Over Cars stands for. We are a positive group of residents that want to continue to see Northville moving forward without all that negativity. And it has been a beautiful space online and in real life to connect with.
My guests are Christy Wysocki. She lives in the city of Northville and is the founder of Community Over Cars. And Peter Hoffman. He lives in Northville Township and is on the board of that group, serving as its government relations liaison. We're talking about a legal battle over Northville's downtown. A Wayne County judge recently ruled that the city must open up 2 streets to vehicle traffic in the heart of its downtown. And another lawsuit challenging street-level dining is pending. So what do you think? Should cities close down their streets to create walkable public spaces? What do you want to see in your own city or town? The phone lines are open 313-577-1019. And I want to go to a caller right now. We have Dan from Ann Arbor on the line. Dan, thank you for calling the Metro. Should more cities start closing down streets?
Most definitely. Being a Detroiter, cars are part of our method of transportation, but I've been to Northville. I've experienced the street closures, both opened and closed. And I live in Ann Arbor, where we do similar activity, closing of streets. And you don't have to be a scientist to visually observe how the community is coming together when the streets are closed. To play devil's advocate, the only time a street of a downtown setting would need to be open is if there's not an alternative way around. And Northville is a very small town. It's a very small community, and the street closure is more festive. It's not like it's closed 7 days a week. Even if it was closed 7 days a week prior to the judge order, because I'm not sure about that. It's still able to be circumvented and navigated accordingly, and it makes sense.
Dan, would you like to see permanent road closures in Ann Arbor, let's say?
It took a while to get used to, and at first I wasn't for it, but then, you can take the bird's eye view and take a look at what it does for the community. And so, yeah, I'm for the downtown street closures for the businesses and for the community to come together.
Dan, thanks so much for calling the Metro. Christy, Dan raises an interesting point. Ann Arbor and many other cities have temporary road closures, but what was happening in Northville was longer term. We've kind of talked about this a little bit, but I want you to paint a picture for listeners, really take us there. How did that change downtown Northville in the summer?
I can't tell you the amount of people that we've met, the businesses that people have frequented. It became from when I was growing up to what it is today, a completely different city in every way, and in every positive, the best way. It was a community, not just on Friday night when they brought a concert in. It was a community at the Tunes on Tuesday events, at coffee shops, at ice cream shops during the day. It felt like something different that was unique in all of Metro Detroit.
Now, of course, we do need to think about the other side here. And that is Let's Open Northville, which is the group that is pointing to other cities like Milford that don't have road closures but still have successful downtowns. If seasonal road closures like Northville's are so great, why haven't more cities and towns followed suit, do you think?
I can take that. I think, realistically, you look at it, and I think that we've talked about it, and it's been brought up a couple of times, that we live in Detroit. It's the Motor City. We're so used to cars, and we're so used to cars as a method of transportation that the idea of closing roads is something we view as an annoyance, or as something that, we view as a negative, and we truly do not look as a community at the positives that can come from it. I think you do see more and more communities, especially since COVID, putting in social districts. And Milford and Farmington are great examples of areas that are just a little geographically, quite frankly, different than Northville, and we're able to affect very successful and burgeoning social districts without closing it. But again, every town is different. Every town is laid out differently, and what works for one may not work for another.
This is the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. My guests are Christy Wysocki. She lives in the city of Northville and is the founder of Community Over Cars. And Peter Hoffman, he lives in Northville Township and is on the board of that group, serving as its government relations liaison. We've been talking about a legal battle over Northville's downtown. A Wayne County judge recently ruled that the city must open up 2 streets to vehicle traffic in the heart of its downtown downtown, and another lawsuit challenging street-level dining is pending. So what do you think? Should cities close down their streets to create walkable spaces? What do you want to see in your city or town? We're going to take a quick break, but the phone lines are open. 313-577-1019. We'll continue this discussion in just a moment. This is The Metro on WDET. Welcome back to the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. We're talking about the value of pedestrian-only streets, especially amid a legal battle over those streets that's been brewing in Northville. My guests are Christy Wysocki. She lives in the city of Northville and is the founder of Community Over Cars. And Peter Hoffman, he lives in Northville Township and is on the board of that group, serving as its government relations liaison. Let's go back to the phones. Danielle in Northville. Thanks for calling the Metro. What do you think? Should Northville's downtown roads be closed?
Hi, thanks for taking the call, and apologies that you might hear my kids in the background, but I'm a
No
young
worries.
mom, I'm a young family, and I care about our future, and I care about their future. And I think the main point right here that has not been discussed is who is making these decisions? Is it elected officials by the city of Northville, by the residents, or is it through the court system? And if you hire a law firm with unknown donations, paying for this in funding, and can tie it up in the legal courts for this legal battle to make a decision that says that Northville City needs to return to pre-COVID, to pre-2020. So how are we supposed to innovate? How are we supposed to move forward? And who at the end of the day gets to make these decisions?
Thank you so much for calling the Metro, Danielle. So what you're saying is you feel that the vocal minority is having more of a say right now. And unfortunately, we did reach out to the group that does want to see these streets revert back to hosting cars and not people. And we haven't heard back from them yet. But Peter, I want you to respond here. According to the city's website, Northville officials received an outpouring of public support for closed streets and outdoor dining. If the city's elected representatives are reflecting their constituents' wishes and a county judge has already ruled to open the roads back up, that begs a question. What are the limits of city officials to govern themselves?
And I think that's a question that's being discussed, and I know we're discussing it at Community Over Cars, and informally we've had those discussions with city officials as well. It does come down to who runs things. Is it, truly, is it our representatives in a representative democracy, or is it a small unelected group with, quite frankly, unknown funding? That are making decisions, and that, I think a concern that a lot of us have, especially with this, with the initial ruling and then with the subsequent lawsuit against restaurants that did not exist or on-street dining that did not exist prior to 2019 is every time the city going to try and innovate, try and introduce new events, try and continue to grow and foster community, and every time something new is introduced, are they going to be paralyzed by a fear of a lawsuit, or is a small unelected vocal minority going to object because they may not like it and sue the city? And that's a concern for me.
Peter,
and I think that's a concern for a lot of us.
It sounds to me, Peter, like for you, this battle is reflective of something much larger. And it sounds like it's reflective of battles that are happening across this country when it comes to people versus special interests and neighbors versus those with deeper pockets. Is that accurate?
I think a lot of us feel that way. And one thing I'd really like to highlight, Christy mentioned it earlier, is that Community Over Cars, it really is, and we have tried to be an incredibly inclusive group. We are filled with people of a variety of different viewpoints, politically, personally, et cetera. But one thing that we do all agree on is that we love Northville, and we are concerned with the way that things are working, in that we feel that potentially the city's votes and the residents of the city's votes are potentially being usurped by a small unelected group. And I do think that's representative of what we're seeing more and more throughout the country.
I want to go back to the phones, if we could, to Mandy in Northville. Mandy, thank you for calling the Metro. I'm wondering, what do you think? Should Northville close downtown streets in favor of more car-free public spaces?
Hi, thanks for letting me speak to this. I'm a Northville resident. I've lived here over 30 years. What I'm often referred to as a boomer by the other group, which is infuriating to me. I've raised my children here. Northville's a very walkable town without the streets being closed. We walk to town every day, very safe on the sidewalks, but it is a small town. And that being said, those two streets that they're asking to have closed are main thoroughfares for us here in Northville. And when those streets were closed, there was a lot of congestion. It was not dangerous. It was not safe. Trying to get around. I live close enough that I drive by downtown several times a day. And every time I would drive by during the week, it was absolutely dead. It didn't seem there was a reason to have it closed during the week. I'd also like to mention that the lawn group has wanted to compromise in ways for closure, and the city has not wanted to discuss any compromises. So personally, my feeling is, the law has spoken on it, and I understand why people want to be down there. I do. It was nice when it was closed, but it is time to move on from that. And, if they want to close them, then go get the land changed. Make some decisions about how traffic is rerouted. Mm-hmm. Our main streets are in terrible shape with no relief in sight for having those repaired. Mm-hmm. I just don't feel like we have the proper infrastructure in place to close those main streets for us.
Mandy, thank you. Thank you so much for calling the Metro and for giving us a different perspective to think about. Christy, I want to turn to you. Northville City Council voted to keep the seasonal road closures. It's appealing Judge Elder's ruling that seasonal road closures violated the city's charter. The bollards blocking off the streets have been removed per Judge Elder's order, ending the seasonal closure early this year. In your eyes, how has that changed the experience for residents? How have members of Community Over Cars responded?
Well, Community Over Cars responded by its formation and the thousands of people that have come together to say we have compromised. We have listened to all opinions. There was a survey done of Northville City residents and Northville Township residents. An overwhelmingly majority said this is good for our community. And the compromise was wintertime, the streets are open, and in the summer, springtime, the streets are closed for pedestrians. So there has been compromise. There has been open dialogue between the city and the groups and opportunities through public comment to listen to all points of view. And so really the response was the formation and this quick, active group of the community coming together to serve as a voice and in a positive way.
This is the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. My guests are Christy Wysocki and Peter Hoffman from from Community Over Cars. That's a group in favor of seasonal road closures in Northville. We're talking about a legal battle over Northville's downtown. A Wayne County judge recently ruled that the city must open up 2 streets to vehicle traffic in the heart of its downtown. And another lawsuit challenging street-level dining is pending. I want to go back to the phones to Brent in Livonia. Thank you for calling the Metro. What do you think?
Hi. I think that Northville should absolutely be allowed to close these streets seasonally. I think it's funny how the previous caller acknowledged that it was a nice thing to have and then said it's time to move on from that. Why would you move on from something nice? Let's keep it. Cars are getting bigger, as we all see on the roads, and as a result of that, if you look at the statistics of pedestrian fatalities by car, they've gone up every year. So I think just as Peter pointed out in the beginning, to have a place where you can take your family, where you can go dine and shop, not just go to a park, but be in an area that's developed and not worry about that stress of getting run over by a car, not worrying about the noise pollution, the air pollution. Sounds like a win-win to me.
Brent, a lot of law enforcement across the country would echo what you're saying about the crisis of vehicle pedestrian fatalities and collisions. It is something that is on the rise across American cities. Christy, can you speak to the safety concerns that Brent raises about car-centric cities?
Absolutely. I cannot tell you how many times that I have been downtown Northville almost daily and see people step into the street forgetting that they were closed. And forgetting that they're not closed anymore and almost getting run over by a car. Little kids, moms, dads, everyone is on high alert right now, including our public safety, knowing that this is a potential danger lurking every day that these streets are open.
Peter, I want to bring you back into the conversation. You're also a parent. How do you see the safety equation here playing out in Northville now?
I think that, unfortunately, it makes me less comfortable to take my children downtown as a parent. We would routinely come down and utilize the closed streets for the seasonal street closures. And one thing that it truly brought as a parent was a peace of mind. My wife and I could patronize the restaurants, patronize shops, and sit and watch our kids play and not have to worry about their safety, not have to worry about, a car hitting them or an accident happening. And quite frankly, that is no longer the case. It is terrifying. It is dangerous. And I understand, concerns of safety in other natures, but, I look at it, it gave us a safe space to congregate with our children, with families, and again, bring the community together. And I know one of the arguments posed against us is, well, families should just take their kids to parks. And I think that's a valid concern. I don't think you'll find a family in our group or a family without that doesn't use the wonderful park system available to us in Northville, available through Wayne County. But we also want to patronize those businesses. We want to bring support to the community. We want to have the opportunity to have an engaged experience and have our kids there and teach them how to behave in public in a way around other people and in a way that just going to the park doesn't do.
Christy, back to you. Let's Open Northville. That's the group opposed to the street closures and outdoor dining in downtown Northville. And I do want to go back to a few more of the concerns that it's raised. We reached out for comment, but we haven't heard back. So I want to discuss these things with you if I could. The group has cited unfair advantages for restaurants that can extend into the street, calling it free rent. What do you make of this claim?
Yeah. What business wouldn't want to take that free rent as their advantage to make their business better? The community and the city is helping their businesses thrive. We've spoken to several businesses that were innovative, used that free rent, and sales and visibility are up.
I'd also point out, too.
Go ahead,
Christy.
Peter, go ahead.
I'd also point out, I wouldn't necessarily call it free rent. These businesses apply for permits through the city, through the Downtown Development Authority. They pay for the privilege of setting up in a street. It might not be as much as the rent might cost in one of the buildings or their payments, but they're not just getting a free ticket, and they're taking advantage of this. And I think it's disappointing to see a group not want to see businesses succeed as much as they can and try to pit some businesses against others. That's really disappointing.
I want to go back to what one of our callers brought up. That was Mandy. I mean, with any road closure, traffic diversion is inevitable. Residents opposed to the road closure might say the inconvenience isn't worth the benefit. I want to give you both one more chance to respond to people whose priority is driving through town center, not coming to it as a destination. Christy, I'll start with you.
The streets that were closed and the people, no one wants unsafe roads in neighborhoods or going around or through it. You will see that the neighborhoods in downtown Detroit and downtown Northville support these closures based on the hundreds of lawn signs that we have that have sprouted up in the streets around the downtown area. So driving through it isn't or around it. I think the closures of the street made it more of a destination to go to where there was foot traffic on the street.
Christy, I'm wondering, what have your communications with Let's Open Northville been like? Have you spoken with them directly at all?
No, you know what? We are an open platform, and we always want to see compromise and positivity. This isn't pink versus orange signs. This is truly, we are supporting Northville and the future of Northville.
We're about to close things out here, but Peter, I want to bring you back in for just a moment. You handle government relations for Community Over Cars. If Judge Elder rules to end seasonal road closures and outdoor dining, what's next for Community Over Cars? Is there a next step?
I think there is. I mean, it's our goal to, no matter what the decision made, and we do hope that the original decision will be overturned on appeal. The city did choose to appeal, and we do hope that the judge will continue to allow the legal permitting process that was in place long before 2019 for outdoor dining and outdoor space uses. But we view ourselves as a value add to the city, and we want to continue to work with the city, with city officials, and with other organizations in the city to bring interesting and fun events for people of all ages and all backgrounds into Northville so they can experience it in the same positive way that all of us in Community Over Cars has.
Peter Hoffman and Christy Wysocki are with Community Over Cars. Thank you both so much for joining us today on the Metro.
Thank you.
Wayne County Circuit Court Judge Charlene Elder will rule on Northville's outdoor dining on October 1st. Last month, she ruled the city must take down the bollards blocking Main and Center streets, saying the seasonal road closures violated the city's charter. The Metro contacted the city of Northville and the group Let's Open Northville. We haven't heard back yet. This is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation. We'll be right back after the news from NPR and WDET. Stay with us.